meeting just revealed to the world. CIA Director Mike Pompeo met with Kim Jong-un over Easter weekend, paving the way for a potential summit between President Trump and the dictator. The president spoke about the trip and his Secretary of State nominee at Mar-a-Lago earlier.
I think Mike Pompeo is extraordinary. He was #1 at West Point. He was top at Harvard. He's a great gentleman. I think he'll go down as truly a great Secretary of State. By the way, he just left North Korea, had a great meeting with Kim Jong-un, and got along with him really well, really great. And he's that kind of a guy. He's very smart, but he gets along with people. So I think that Mike will be in good shape. We'll see what happens. You know, a lot of people are predicting other things, but I have a feeling it's going to work out very well, and I think our country really needs him. He's going to be a great leader.
So this is pretty high level, Kimberly. James Clapper, President Obama's top intel chief, went over there, and Madeleine Albright went over there. But to have Pompeo go over there in a secret mission is pretty big. How does the Trump administration not get suckered into a deal like previous administrations, the Bush administration, the Clinton administration, and make that same mistake?
Yeah, I think by virtue of the representation that was sent, I think Pompeo is somebody who has, I'm going to speak to the nature or quality of the past administration, but I'm saying as it relates to Pompeo, the experience he has, with the CIA, position he's in now, I think it's a wise choice. And it also shows the United States is willing to engage in diplomatic lines of discourse to be able to solve complex geopolitical problems. This should be a positive for everybody because he's saying, you know what, we're taking this seriously. We're putting focus and attention on it. We're being open-minded. We want to talk to them and work out something in a good way that is going to be beneficial not just to the United States and North Korea, South Korea, China, but globally the world at large. Put some positivity into it. Hopefully he's going to be able to make some inroads. You can't do anything unless you try. And he's trying pretty hard, and he's negotiating from a position of strength, unlike 100%. Maybe some other previous administrations. Fear of fire and fury.
That's right. Dana, some of the other Democrats on the Senate Intel Committee are not so happy with Mike Pompeo. They may vote against him, and the White House is saying, please don't undercut him during this kind of overture like this. And we have some sound of some Democrats explaining their position. Let's listen.
Director Pompeo has shown a disdain for diplomacy, putting military action at a higher priority. I think he sets a poor example in terms of American values. So I will strongly oppose his nomination.
I do expect for someone who is the nominee to be the Secretary of State, when he speaks with the committee leadership and when he was asked specific questions about North Korea, to share some insights about such a visit.
I think the diplomat that represents this country's Secretary of State, especially under this president, has to be somebody who really has a strong orientation toward diplomacy and not somebody who's going to exacerbate the president's worst tendencies.
Dana?
It takes a lot to get me worked up, but I am worked up about this. How is it that Blumenthal, the senator from New Jersey, can say, or Connecticut, that that Pompeo has a disdain for diplomacy when he spent his Easter weekend flying to North Korea to sit down and actually talk to Kim Jong-un, which I believe is diplomacy. The president also benefits from this being the beginning of his administration when this is happening. For example, Madeleine Albright, when she went, it was at the very end, like within the last, they only had 2 months left. And President Clinton had a choice. He could work on Middle East peace or North Korea. He chose Middle East peace. That deal fell apart. And later tells Madeleine Albright, I wish I would have gone and done the North Korea deal. So things happen president to president. I feel like the Democrats are picking a fight that they do not want to have. I don't think they will win it. It is not sustainable to have this argument. The other thing about Senator Menendez being frustrated that Pompeo didn't tell them, he's saying, well, he wasn't forthcoming in his testimony. Well, yeah, because he had a secret meeting to go to North Korea, and he is the CIA director. They confirmed him a year ago. And to assume that he can't be CIA director, he can't be State Department head, but he can run the CIA in 9 months, is preposterous to me. I think that this is a really bad example for the United States to set for the world. You don't have to like Mike Pompeo, but you should confirm him and let him do his job.
Absolutely.
And shouldn't, Greg, the Democrats be applauding the administration for this type of diplomatic overture?
Of course not. How can they possibly handle this kind of achievement from somebody that they despise? We're going to have to truck in thousands of therapy llamas from Peru to deal with the mental breakdown that's going to happen with all of the haters who want so badly for Trump to fail, even if his success could mean an incredible transformation in world safety. I mean, if you denuclearize North Korea, if they unite, if this happens, you're going to have to make some room on Mount Rushmore.
Get the chisel out.
It's interesting. I mean, it must be hard for CNN and MSNBC because they're too busy covering a consensual transactional sex act that happened years ago. I mean, imagine if CNN now were around when the Berlin Wall fell, they would be covering a Love Boat reunion. That is how stupid this is. And by the way, I think it was just a week ago or so, we were talking about how Comey, said that he compared Trump to a mafia boss, and the media was like, "Oh, this is terrible." I think we realized that a mafia boss beats a massage therapist. It's not a bad thing to have somebody who talks tough, who reset the table, and it comes down to a system that we have noticed. Trump enters, he kind of throws the table over, says everything's changed now. He takes the hardest position, and then you have to walk towards him. And they understand that language. You cannot understand ambiguous intellectual paralysis of analysis language, but you can understand that. And I think that's why this is working.
So Greg's saying he came in and he pulls out a TPP. He puts the security deal on the table with the South Koreans. He slaps sanctions on the Chinese, war games with our allies like Japan and South Korea. And it looks like things are moving in the right direction. Do you give the president any credit for any action he's taken in the Pacific?
I was waiting for you to tell me what moved in the right direction.
I mean, Juan, this is a historic summit. They haven't spoken.
That's
in,
potentially, but I mean,
think 60 or 70 years, and that we're on the eve of a historic summit between North and South.
Well, let me just say, it's not like, when you've heard this around the table, it's not like the first time people have gone over there. You said right in the beginning that not only had Clapper gone, but that our Secretary of State, Madeleine Albright, had gone. And
don't forget Rodman.
I won't. But the problem is that the North Koreans always say, "Oh yeah, well, we'll do something. We'll come along."
Right.
And maybe they say, "Oh, we'll stop selling this stuff." Right. We'll stop selling it to the Pakistanis and the people in the Middle East, or we'll think about maybe not making so much. But they never say we'll give up our current arsenal of weapons.
Right.
So the question for Pompeo, and I disagree with Dana pretty strongly on this, because it seems to me Pompeo has been a guy that says, "Oh yeah, first strike, go right ahead," right? He disagrees with diplomacy when it comes not only to the climate deal, but to the Iranian deal.
He's going to go to war over the climate deal?
I don't know. Climate change
No, you spoke about him as someone. You're saying, well, he went to North Korea over the Easter holiday, so of course he believes in diplomacy. To the contrary, he has a history of undermining diplomatic deals. And so I think that for people in the Senate, they're saying, wait a second, that's going to be your Secretary of State with
what deal?
What's been undermined?
The Iran deal, the climate deal. But to say that he is going to somehow now come back.
A deal isn't good just because it's a deal, Juan. Sometimes deals are bad and you have to get out of it.
Well, I don't think those are bad deals, so let me say that up front. But I would say
a lot of other Americans do.
But it doesn't matter because it is American policy. We signed the deal as the American people. That was our government. And so you can say, oh, well, I show up and I'm a great deal maker, so I'm going to bluster my way through. I think a lot of people say, so exactly what did Pompeo get from his visit? What is the news out of that visit? Did he get some concession? Or is it the case that we're giving everything to North Korea in terms of...
Okay, wait. No, I got to point the hypocrisy here. Yeah. On one side, he's saying Pompeo's mean for being harsh on the climate deal, and now he's being soft on North Korea. Number one, the climate deal, everybody now agrees it was a lousy deal. It cost $100 trillion over a century. Now, it doesn't mean that there isn't a deal. Yes, look at the statistics, Ron. I have looked at it. You have not. I am right. You are wrong. Settle it. All right. What my point is this, is that he actually went there, right? Because the Trump presidency is regarded as hard. not soft. So it changes the whole way the atmosphere of it. It's not like they're going to I don't think they're going to push Trump around, because I think they've seen him bomb Syria twice.
You know what? You should
There's
go-
red lines
go
that
talk.
won't be crossed.
You know what surprises me is the conservative point of view. Dick Cheney, Don Rumsfeld, said to Colin Powell, who came in after Albright, and said, I would like to see if we can get some negotiations going. Dick Cheney, Don Rumsfeld said, no, we're not playing ball with this guy. He just wants a meeting with the president, and he'll use it to convince his people that nuclear devices have brought the U.S. to the
That was
table with
true.
North Korea.
That was true.
And it's true today.
But the calculus has changed now that they have nuclear weapons.
They had nuclear weapons then.
Well, they have nuclear weapons because we've secured a number of bad deals with them, and they've cheated on everyone. What's different this time is because we believe the sanctions have brought them to their knees, and we've got serious gunships encircling them. The country's starving, and there's actually good progress being made between the North and the South that we haven't seen in decades, Juan. So let's just hold out hope. Maybe something positive
Can I say,
could come
don't
out of it.
forget that John Bolton is very skeptical about the North Koreans.
Right.
Like he was very critical of Condoleezza Rice, who was trying to also make a deal with our allies and North Korea at the end of the administration. So he's now on board at the National Security Council, and I think that if that's the concern, there at least is somebody at the table with a voice saying, be careful.
And just to say really quickly, the president didn't undermine these deals. He's the commander in chief, and he has to evaluate them and decide what's in the best interest of the United States and what is not. And he made a calculation that the Iran deal was not, and that the Paris Climate Change Accord deal was not as well. And then he acted prudently to withdraw from those.
All right, ahead, we celebrate the life of former First Lady Barbara Bush and pay our respects to the beloved American icon, gone at the age of 92. Back in a moment.
One of the reasons I made the most important decision of my life to marry George Bush is because he made me laugh. It's true, sometimes we laugh through our tears, but that shared laughter has been one of our strongest bonds. Find the joy in life, because as Ferris Bueller said on his day off, life moves pretty fast, and you don't stop and look around once in a while, you're going to miss it.
I'm a huge believer in a loving God. I pray, George and I pray every night out loud. And sometimes we fight over whose turn it is, but we do. And I have no fear of death, which is a huge comfort because we're getting darn close. And I don't have a fear of death for my precious George or for myself, because I know that there is a great God, and I'm not worried.
Comforting words. An outpouring of love from across the country for former First Lady Barbara Bush, who passed away yesterday at the age of 92. And while many are mourning the loss of this great woman, her beloved husband of 73 years, President H.W. Bush, has a different request. The president releasing this statement earlier today, saying, quote, "I always knew Barbara was the most beloved woman in the world. The outpouring of love and friendship being directed at the enforcer is lifting us all up. We have faith she is in heaven, and we know that life will go on. So cross the Bushes off your worry list." This morning, her son, former President George W. Bush, recalled his final moments with his mom.
She and I were needling each other, and the doctor came in, and she turned to the doctor and said, "You want to know why George W. is the way he is?" And the doctor looked somewhat surprised. She said, "Because I drank and smoked when I was pregnant with him."
That's hilarious.
Yeah, no, she's funny. Here's the thing. She had great faith. She truly believes that there's an afterlife, that she'll be wonderfully received in the arms of a loving God, and therefore did not fear death. And as a result of her soul being comforted on the deathbed, my soul is comforted.
Isn't that incredible? What a wonderful life lesson for so many people who have suffered loss of loved ones and family members. You can carry that kind of strength and just the sentiment, Dana, that they shared with everybody about how wonderful she was, the enforcer, the matriarch of the family, beloved, and also, very funny.
He used to say that I have my daddy's eyes and my mother's mouth. And that he and his mom used to get in trouble sometimes for the fact that they spoke so frankly. And actually, their nickname for her at home was Frank. Everybody called her that because of how she would just tell it like it is. But as watching her talk about her precious George, it is almost unfathomable to most of us that you could be married to somebody for 73 years, that you would marry the first man that you ever kissed, and that you would go on to have this, to basically to be the founder of such a big political family. But they're not just political family. They do a lot of public service. But I remember one time hearing advice she had for people in a marriage, that each person has to be willing to go 60% of the way. And that's a good reminder for those of us who need to be nicer to our loved ones.
Oh, my goodness.
Who was that
indeed.
directed at?
Peter, I'll be nicer to you now.
Well, we were working on that, Dana, right? I was telling you.
I would point out this, that when he talked about the comfort that she had because of her faith, a lot of people don't remember all the time that she had a second child after George W. Bush. Her name was Robin, and she died at 4 years old of leukemia. And actually, it was Mark Stein this morning who said that he believed, and I think that it's true, that that is when her hair turned prematurely white, and she never chose to hide that.
Yeah.
And she really just was who she was, and it was an honor to know her for sure.
Very sweet. God bless her. Okay, Greg.
I want to get the negative stuff out of the way, because not all people had an outpouring, and the worst place you can go when someone major dies is Twitter.
Yeah, don't go
And
there.
I don't know why I went there, but if you want to Google Fresno professor, and Barbara Bush, you probably should, and let Fresno know what you think about what this woman said about Barbara Bush, because this professor has tenure, and she's an incompetent bucket of slime. Anyway, down to something positive. She reminds me of my mother. That's what I really liked about her. When I dedicated my first book to my mom, it said, to the woman who smoked and drank while she was pregnant with me. with me. And
Explains a lot as well.
yeah, but I mean, like, an older woman who enjoys a cocktail, there's nothing more enjoyable to be around, because they've been on a planet for a long time, and having a drink with them is like, you learn what really goes on in the world, because they have a more accurate take on it than most men, and it's just it's a valuable experience to be with somebody who's older, drinking a bourbon.
There you go. All right, Jesse. Jesse will have something nice to say.
Of course. I mean, the matriarch of one of the most distinguished political dynasties in American history.
Probably in the world.
Probably. I'm wife of
Kennedy's
a
probably
president, mother of a president, mother of a governor. And to think that someone like this came from this area, I think a lot of people understand she's cut from a certain cloth. If you live in Long Island or Connecticut or Westchester County, for me, she reminded me of my great-grandmother or my grandmother, with the white hair, the way she dressed, and the way she made you feel when you were around her. Because if Barbara Bush was around you or in your presence, you made sure your tie was right, you stood up straight, you spoke in perfect English, and you conducted yourself in a way that was honorable and presentable to the general public, and you never wanted to disappoint her.
Right.
She inspired a feeling of a commitment to excellence in the way you conducted yourself and the way you should conduct yourself as an American or as a young adult. And she's just an amazing woman, and she raised such a beautiful family. And I think the family and their success is a testament to her wonderful nature.
It's very
She would have sent you some great texts.
yeah.
She sure would have.
Imagine? So cute. It's just so nice to even just look at her, right? When you see the pictures and the images, and it's very sweet. Juan.
So I was around during these years, and I must say she was extremely popular. So if you look at the poll numbers on someone, especially a first lady, they tend to be pretty popular. But Nancy Reagan wasn't all that popular. People had lots of issues with Nancy Reagan. So here comes Barbara Bush, and people are like, wow, she's so approachable, so warm, and so direct. I mean, I think everybody at this table can remember when she was asked if Jeb should run for president. She says, no, there's been enough Bushes. They're pretty direct.
Listened.
In the middle of war, she would say, I don't want to hear all that news about body bags and stuff. I mean, she's a very real person. And I used to fly around with her husband. I guess I've spent more one-on-one time with her husband than with any other president. And so I'd occasionally have to talk with her. And let me tell you, she would not only, I mean, her attitude towards the press was, you guys are a bunch of baloney, and don't say anything in front of the press, even one, that kind of thing. But I just fell in love because I don't think you may realize this, but she's actually a year younger, Jesse, than her husband.
No kidding.
So she say she looks so grandmotherly and all. She used to think this was hilarious. And, people would say, why doesn't she dress up in fancy clothes like some first lady? That wasn't Barbara Bush. I mean, I think that, when I look back on her, I think of one of the most real, lovable people in public life that I've ever come across.
Oh, it's very sweet. All right, well.
By the way, let me just throw this in here, something close to my heart. She's big on literacy and did a lot with her family foundation to say that, we need more Americans to know how to read.
Especially my books.
Oh, yes. That's what she told me.
Exactly. Well, I think everybody join us, in saying, may Barbara Bush, rest in eternal peace. God bless her and for her service.
And I'm going to do the 2 o'clock show on Friday from Houston.
Okay.
So.
All right, perfect. You don't want to miss that. Fantastic. Ahead, fired FBI Director Jim Comey appears on The View and is asked a very direct question. Did he write his tell-all on President Trump for the money? His answer is next.
Jim Comey making the rounds to promote his new book. Yes, it's still going on. He showed up on The View today where he was pressed on a number of subjects, including his intentions for writing his tell-all.
And I think it's worth noting that David Axelrod, a big Democrat who's a former chief strategist to President Obama, said, I have no doubt about its brilliance when it comes to book sales. Maybe he should have called it higher royalties. What do you say to people like him and people like me that think you're just doing this for money and attention?
Yeah, first thing I do is ask him to read the book. And I'm not saying he should agree with me, but if he reads the book, he will see I'm trying to make choices between bad options and doing it in a way that I think you would want someone as director of the FBI to do it.
He was also questioned about his decision to include descriptions of President Trump's physical appearance in his memoir.
You're right. If I had it to do over again, I wouldn't put that paragraph in. I wasn't trying to pick on Donald Trump. I could hear my editor's voice saying, bring the reader, bring the reader.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's what I'm trying to do. And I wasn't making fun of his hands. In fact, I say in the book, his hands seem normal size to me. I'm not.
So, Greg, I wanted to pick up on that with you, not just from an editor's perspective.
Not from the hand perspective.
You've written a lot of books. And when you have that editor's voice saying maybe you should not put that in there, like maybe you shouldn't put it in there, I think it's in there because they knew it was going to get attention.
Yes, and this is all part of his gimmick, which is to wrestle with his conscience in public.
Yeah.
This entire thing is about, every day is a challenge being me. Because I'm so highly moral in a world that's gone amoral. What do I do? And that leads, he goes, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But where does he go when the talk shows run out? I have an idea. He needs to write a book of sonnets for Hillary, call it Prayers for a Pantsuit. And I wrote the first one.
Okay, I'd like to hear it. Why
did I pillory poor Miss Hillary? It was but a con to unseat Dawn, but now you've had your fill of me. A little tear dropped down to my face.
Well done.
Democrats certainly feel...
Juan's moved by this.
Can you tell?
Democrats certainly feel like...
I'm trying.
Yeah, really. A minute ago, you were looking at Twitter when someone died. I thought, I'm alive. You can look and see what trash is in there right now.
Yeah, don't ever look at your mentions, Juan. But the Democrats are obviously mad. Meghan McCain brings up that David Axelrod is the one who said that he was just trying to sell books.
I don't know if I guess he's trying to sell books. That's pretty
of course, like anybody who's written a book,
exactly.
Want to sell books.
Not me. I just do it for the passion.
But I must say, I think he's a little self-righteous. But on the other hand, he's not a perfect person, but he's autonomous, and he was apparently trying to act in good faith. I mean, I don't think that anybody thinks that he was there doing his job as FBI director because he was trying to make money or set himself up. I think he got caught here in a very difficult situation. So it's not. Greg, you were saying as a citizen, people having this moment of conscience, boy, I had tough choices. He's FBI director. I think you talk to any FBI director, they'll tell you they get into some tough positions. And I think one last thing to say on this, Dana, is that Trump tweets out, oh, gee, no problem. I had to fire Comey because he was so reckless. He's told Lester Holt he fired him because of the Russia probe.
Yeah, there was that interview. Yes, of course. One thing, though, that the Clintons don't ever seem to take responsibility for is that the whole reason there was an investigation in the first place is because she set up the private email server.
That's true, but she doesn't take responsibility. I want to back up to the top of the segment. Did you have country music bump in? Was that country? Because it didn't sound like country.
Her name is Casey. Her name is Casey Musgraves. That is her new song from her new album.
Okay, I'm quality control here. I wanted to make sure.
It's called Lonely Weekend, which you just might end up having if you don't like Casey Musgraves, because look, you want to help with your demo, you got to get with the program.
All right, I'll see if I can add that into the music mix. I was researching this segment as I do. I did a deep dive.
You always do.
And I forgot. Comey put Martha Stewart in prison.
You forgot that?
I forgot that. I mean, now that just really doubles it down for me. This guy's a scoundrel. And I understand now why Trump fired him. I mean, that was just in a long list of botched prosecutions. And now it makes perfect sense.
Well, that actually, what do you think about that case, Kimberly? I mean, Martha Stewart, I know we didn't allow you time to do a deep dive on Martha Stewart, but I mean, when people look back, I mean, that is questionable for some people that she ended up having to go to jail.
Yeah, well, it seems very unfair, doesn't it? And she's like singled out. I mean, Martha Stewart, really, is she a big danger and threat, you know, to society? I mean, did she have a couple bad recipes here and there? All right, so they said, did she make false statements? Did she not, you know, tell the truth in some of the investigation, et cetera? That's typically how they get you in terms of a prosecution. They'll say, well, did you make a false statement? Did you not tell the truth? Especially you see with this Mueller investigation, where is it going? The obstruction of justice, what happened in it? It's kind of similar parallels. They'll try and do a deep dive, you know, wide net, and see if they can get you on anything if they're just zeroed in on you.
Indeed. Well, the book tour continues tomorrow, so I'm sure we'll have more at that point. Coming up, President Trump's thoughts on that sketch put out by Stormy Daniels yesterday. Right back.
Yesterday on The View, Stormy Daniels and her lawyer revealed a sketch of the dude who allegedly made threats in a parking lot.
Can we take a look at that with you? No.
There you go.
And to your recollection, is that the person that threatened you?
Absolutely.
How many years ago?
It was 7 years
And
ago.
you remembered to that detail. I mean, he looks like an actor, sort of.
That's why he stood out to me, is because I thought, honestly, that he was, you know, sort of handsome. And when I saw him when I was parking, I was like, oh, that's somebody's husband. He's
You don't
kinda
expect
cute.
somebody threaten you to
but
be
I wanted
handsome.
The president today responded to this saying, a sketch years later about a non-existent man, a total con job, playing the fake news media for fools, but they know it. His tweet linked to a comparison in which a Twitter user thinks there's a similarity between the mystery man and Stormy's husband. Now, before the media gets on their high horse and chides the president for weighing in, be aware that every single media mouthpiece is doing the very same thing. The sketch invites comparisons. And in a circus like this, a circus made more absurd every day by media and legal hysterics, it's just another mad attraction that challenges any decorum we have left. After Stormy shows up in court as a publicity gimmick and reveals the sketch on a morning gab fest usually reserved for discussing Kardashian's glutes, it's hard to take any of it seriously, especially as the president makes potentially historic progress with North Korea. So who's the guy in the sketch? Is it this guy or that guy or this guy? I don't know. And I'm beginning to think that no one else does either.
Oh, my God.
So I have to
Poor
read
Kilmeade.
Michael Avenatti, is that how you say it? Stormy's husband's lawyer as well, responded to Trump's tweet, and I want to read them. In my experience, this is tweet 1. In my experience, there's nothing better in litigation than having a completely unhinged, kind of an overused word, undisciplined opponent who is prone to shooting himself in the foot. Always leads to big problems like new claims. Second tweet, i.e. defamation. Warning, as the walls close and reality sets in, that the most damaging witnesses, secrets, and evidence are no longer protected. Fully expect the following: sheer panic, personal attacks, tirades, and distraction. None of it will change the outcome in the end. Hashtag Basta. All right, so I have to...
There's also some news just in that
What?
Avenatti's on another network and saying that he's going to add a defamation case against the President of the United States.
There you go. So I have to give him credit, Kimberly. This is now a meme. It's like people have Tom Brady, they got Kato Kalin, they got Mark McGrath.
I saw one of you.
Yes, I did too. Yes, that
And you
wasn't
ru-
funny.
you
I'm not that
ruined-
good looking.
You ruined
I'm close
Kilmeade,
though.
Poor Kilmeade.
Well, I had to do Kilmeade.
Well, obviously, it should be taken seriously if somebody threatened her and said that you're not to, cooperate, intimidation, and harassed her to the point where she felt she needed to be silenced on her. However, nevertheless, now you see it's on The View and they're laughing about it, saying he looks like an actor. But yeah, I mean, it's all over the internet, everybody making comparisons to a variety of people saying it looks like them. So, quite frankly, because it does resemble so many different people, as a former prosecutor, I'll tell you, it makes it very difficult for positive identification.
What a
like
great
anybody
point.
Else. Oh my, yeah, no,
That's
it's
a great
disaster.
point.
It's a disaster because it could be anybody. And so there you go. So let's just prosecute anybody.
Yes.
That's the problem. So it's just rife with problems in terms of identification, reasonable doubt, but it looks like this person, are you sure? The passage of time, inability to make a positive ID or a cold show, like we say. I don't know. I mean, what are you going to do? Now it's good. People put it as Christmas cards.
Is it possible that the material that they seized in Michael Cohen's raid and his emails would lead them back to this mysterious actor person?
Well, you know what, Dana? Anything is possible, meaning if there was the identity of a person, in fact, he was acting in concert and specified for someone to go, maybe you find them, and I doubt a name will be written in big, bold print somewhere. But that's why you have to have, I think, a special master, like I did in my case, go through all of the documents, information, make sure that you get only what you're supposed to as well to uphold the attorney-client privilege. But yeah, there could be a lot of variety of different things in there that aren't pertinent.
So good we have a prosecutor here. Juan, do you have any theories
I'm helping
to add?
you every day, Greg.
I know. I'll need help later at some point. Juan, do you have a theory? I mean, the thing is, everybody is now adding to this because it's like, guess who the guy is if the guy exists.
I think it's probably a publicity stunt. I don't know. I think that Kimberly's right, though. When people are being intimidated and harassed, we shouldn't dismiss it out of hand, even if it's Stormy Daniels. But the thing that caught my attention...
passage of time.
I'm sorry?
Even if there's a passage of time.
Yeah, but the thing that caught my attention, Greg, is why is the president tweeting about this? How low can you go? I don't like it. I just think,
You
it
can't change him,
debases
Juan, though.
normality.
What are you going to do? I mean, you can't, even if I'm sure people tell him not to.
Normal behavior by the president of the United States. First of all, he says it didn't happen, so let it be. But I mean, I think that was a good strategy on his part. But now he's tweeting about her and this. To me, it's like a tawdry display.
It is, Jesse.
I don't think the president can help himself with Twitter. I think we're beyond that point. But I mean, I get that sex sells, but it's the 15 minutes has got to be up pretty soon. This is just about a non-disclosure agreement that was allegedly broken. A court should just fast track this. Someone's going to get a judgment or they're going to settle. That's it.
Didn't they just want to go to arbitration?
Or go to arbitration. Forget about it. But when you pile up, as you said, all these stunts from the sketch to the photo of the lie detector test, to the nationwide strip club tour, to this guy's all over every single cable outlet. And then what else are they doing? First of all, the lawyer is a highly paid Democratic attorney who's represented dozens of Democrats. You team him up with a publicity-seeking porn star, not saying these allegations aren't accurate, and they go hand in hand. And when you have the media ushering them along and acting like she's pure as the wind-driven snow, it's a recipe for disaster. They don't ever ask her any challenging questions. They never debate her. They take everything she says as fact. It's beyond the point of no return at this point. It's about a campaign finance violation. Bernie Sanders just settled a campaign finance violation for $14,000 because he accepted donations from Australia. This is the exact same type of violation, and they raided the president's lawyer's office over it.
Didn't President Obama have to set up something even bigger, like when right after he came in? Yeah.
Something like that. But of course, there was no effort to conceal it.
Yeah. Did you last?
I asked a question. I'm good.
All right. A mom admits she has a favorite child, probably me, and people react in horror.
It's a taboo topic. When you're a parent, it's an unwritten rule. You don't say whether you have a favorite child. But an English mama Ford, she just went there, sending the internet aghast.
It's Kennedy that's your favourite.
She is, yep. Kennedy is just all round nicer to be around.
Your 7 and 9-year-old have heard you say those words.
They will say she's your favourite, and I will admit to them. I'll say, yeah, I've just got that different bond with Kennedy. Do you know what I mean? I have got such a bond with her.
Wow, Kimberly, were you your favorite of your mom or dad's favorite kid?
Yeah. Yeah. You know what's funny? My brother would say that. He's
Yeah.
like, you were the favorite. You know, I was the one with the straight A's, the perfect attendance, the nice little things. And there he is. There's my little mas macho.
So,
but he looks more Puerto Rican than me. I think
So,
he's got better looks.
Does he have a feeling that he was treated unfairly? Does he have?
Oh, no, not at all. They're both, my parents were both super lovely, nice to him. He was just like, you know, more mischievous than probably had more fun.
Okay, so Jesse, were you the favorite? Wait, Dana, you know the story?
No, I'm just assuming.
Mom text coming.
It would appear that my parents would like my sister more.
Okay.
Because I was trouble as a child, and they have a lot more in common. They're both liberal academics. But deep down, I always really know that they really do like me more.
Take it easy, man. Take it easy. It's all right.
It's a little emotional for him.
Yeah,
Look
it
at his
is.
eyes. He's got a
He's my
tear.
man. He's good. He's good. Dana, what was your experience?
I think that my parents absolutely loved my sister more.
Oh,
I mean, not
really?
loved more, but Angie is certainly the favorite. She's the favorite at every party, every event, everything. And yes, they would probably never say it out loud. Absolutely. And I think Angie would agree, and my mom and dad would agree.
Why?
Because I was a type A annoying person. Like, who wants to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to take me to my speech tournament on Saturday? Nobody. That's why I got a driver's license and a car. I had to drive myself.
You
Well,
are
so
such a
Greg,
nerd.
Greg, were you the favorite?
I'm not going to answer that question because I prefer to go after this crazy lady who spells her kid's name Kennedy with an I-E, which is clearly a sign that she's not of a healthy mind, because the real sin here is that she overshared at the expense of her kids. Yeah. She decided to sacrifice her kids' feelings for some fame, gave me an idea for a website called Fame Tokens. So you reward it to people who attract attention for good things, and then you take them away for people seeking attention for bad things.
Wait a second. This is a bad thing in your mind?
What she did was a bad thing, yes.
Yeah. But you don't think
also,
it's
I've seen it
true?
before.
Yeah, it's
I
not
think
nice.
it's true.
Yeah,
no,
but you don't say it out loud, Juan.
The story's been
Juan,
done.
you would say it out
been
loud.
done every year by.
You would never do that, Juan.
Let me just add. The story has been done over and over again by people seeking attention. That's all it is.
Also, her kid is 2, and the other kids are 7, 9, and 12. So, of course, you probably like the 2-year-old better because she hasn't learned to talk yet.
Well, no,
And these kids are going to go up and totally resent her, and I love it.
Well, she said she had more time to bond with a child. She breastfed, and the kid is just
She's an awful person.
Let me just say, the firstborn child is often the most popular. I'm the thirdborn, and my sister was the most popular, the smartest, the best, and my dad couldn't have loved my sister anymore. Anyway,
That's nice.
one
Very
more
sweet.
thing is up next.
All right.